Okay, let's go into the news. Where you want to get started?
I think we have to start with the Manchester Derby, where the My Sky Blues battered those Red Devils. Never had a chance.
Thumped them. I did want to give a shout out to Jasa, who continues to be my favorite United player. Just wonderful to watch. Super creative. Kind of wish he was on another team. And your goalkeeper, Kiera Keating. I mean, at what point do we start having the Lionesses? I'll save that take for a later show. I unleashed a few doozies this week.
Sure. You know what? We got to check the ages to make sure to see where they line up. I don't hate it, though. Kiera Keating was a maestro again in this match. And I will say credit to United. I think in the first 20, 25 minutes, they did play pretty well. So me saying they never had a chance, maybe a bit of a sky blue overreaction. But hey, that's what I'm here to do at times. Jess Park, first ever league goal, played lights out, looked great, was always in the right position, was able to kind of figure out what space she needed to occupy while a lot of the attention was focused on Bunny.
Yeah, I think Jess Park was playing like she was ready for this to be the Jess Park game. Mm-hmm. She kind of made it happen.
Yep.
I really appreciated her kind of like aggressiveness and just kind of forward kind of play. She really took this match by the horns. 2-0 at the half, and then 30 seconds after halftime, our gal, ITC legend, Bunny Shaw, slams the door shut on United. 3-0 at this point. United pulled one back. Game ends 3-1. Still a pretty resounding win for Manchester City. Just 5 matches left in the season, and City are level on points with Chelsea, just 2 goals behind with regard to goal differential. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I feel like Emma Hayes and her squad, I mean, they're professionals. They're the best. They've been the best team in the league for years for a reason. They really got their eyes on that Champions League trophy. I feel like this is an opportunity, maybe let one slip. I would have preferred a 3-0 victory instead of 3-1 to help that goal differential and maybe close that gap a little bit. But hey, we got Bunny. You mentioned her goal. She's the all-time leading scorer in the history of the women's program for Manchester City. Congratulations to her. Obviously well-deserved. Earned every one of those goals. So I'm going to take a quick look here. We have Liverpool, West Ham, Bristol City, your Arsenal, and Aston Villa to end the year. I think we can catch them. I think we can go 4-1-0 in there. Maybe we draw your Arsenal. You guys are obviously third in the table. You're not a bullshit team. And let me just be careful about that. I don't think any of these teams are bullshit teams. West Ham, they're fighting to stay in the league. I think it will be tough, but I think the combination, Lauren Hemp, Bunny Shaw, Yui Hasegawa, and now with Jess Park coming on, let's go. And we got a brick wall back there with Kiera Keating. I think we could win the league.
I like it. Yeah, probably just one loss on that docket there for. I'm not going to point any when you call anybody out specifically.
Sure.
And yeah, I think I agree with you. Emma Hayes, probably got her eyes on Champions League trophy and a gold medal. Wait, who said that? What? Let's go ahead though. What else we got into the news this week?
So we had a good old-fashioned press release. I love one of those. The NWSL and Liga MX Femenil announced last week that the two leagues will put on a Summer Cup competition. We get some more football. We get a look at those teams from Liga MX that we talked about during the CONCACAF W Gold Cup. So you already know I'm psyched about that. Here's another thing that you probably already know I'm going to say. This sounds to me, if we're talking about extra matches that are going to be played in stadiums around the country and around Mexico, it sounds like there will be some extra revenue. And so I sure hope that revenue goes into the pockets of these players, because I know, like many others in our audience, I won't be showing up to the matches or tuning in on television because I like all the suits in the front offices of these clubs. I'm here to watch the games, bro. And those games are played by players. So tried to do some poking around. I haven't seen anything in terms of prize money or anything like that discussed publicly. If I'm looking in the wrong place, hopefully friends of the program will shoot that information to us. But however much money is being generated from this, give it to the damn players.
Amen. Agree with that. Or to some podcasters that are doing what they can to elevate the sport.
Yeah, sure.
I'm excited about this tournament. I think there's a good opportunity. Obviously, we saw what Mexico did in the W Gold Cup and kind of put the whole world on notice. And I think social media in general, WOSO, global WOSO was excited to start pulling attention into Liga MX. Mm-hmm. I think Mexico's performance really kind of put a stamp on that. The groups were also announced this week. My Orlando Pride drew the Courage, Racing Louisville, and Liga MX's Rayadas de Monterrey, a side that features Mexico's W Gold Cup captain Rebecca Bernal. Your Seattle Reign, they drew Portland, Utah, and Tijuana, a side that also will feature Mayra Pelayo Bernal, a name USWNT fans may remember from this most recent Gold Cup. Like I said, super excited about this competition. Maybe laying a bit of a foundation for our own little Champions League of the Americas potentially. Any thoughts on that?
I can't wait to hear whatever that Champions League song sounds like. I look forward to it. You know what, buddy? This just opens the door for a 2-beer show. It had to.
Like it.
We're cruising toward it this entire time. And yeah, I'm just totally looking forward to it. I think those Liga MX squads getting the extra exposure in our country, hopefully that creates some kind of bridge to some kind of television deal so we can start watching these squads more regularly. I also think it's really interesting that a chunk of the tournament is going to be running congruently to the Summer Olympics. So we're going to get some club football alongside our international football. There's nothing wrong with that. I do want to echo the sentiment of Sandra Herrera from the Attacking Third and CBS. She had a great tweet talking about this, and I have to agree with her. When I think about it, the NWSL Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. So Sandy took to Twitter to say, quote, Copa Cultura, Copa Fuego, Copa del Sol, we're literally all right there. And they're going to have us out here like, welcome to the Gringas Cup. Now I will say, and end quote, I will say, Gringas, never a term that I've used. Tweet still made me laugh. So I would say, let's go NWSL Liga MX Femenil. First, cut Sandy a big old check for coming up with those names, because those 3 names are fucking excellent. Pick one of those names, give Sandy a check, and think about this. What about Copa Fuego, brought to you by Tapatio, or some kind of hot sauce brand or something like that? Let's get a sponsor in this, and let's get some money out of it and give that money to the players.
I'm with that. Hell yeah, let's go. I'm still kind of workshopping. You got my wheels spinning about the song that could go with it, and I can just close my eyes. I can hear La Gringas. La Gringas.
That'll play in Seattle for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to Sandra Herrera for kind of getting our wheels turning on that.
Oh, yeah.
What else you want to hit this week?
Well, I think it's important to mention the Seattle Reign sale to the Carlyle Group is nearly done. So,
congrats.
well, thanks. OL Group, the majority owner of Seattle Reign since 2020, announced last week that a deal to sell the team to a consortium led by the Seattle Sounders is, quote, near completion. The price tag has been reported by Steph Yang of The Athletic and many others at $58 million.
Nice.
Which is not a bad haul for the OL Group, considering they acquired the majority stake of the club for $3.51 million about 4 years ago.
Nice little chunk of change,
I would say. So as most of you likely know, OL Group was the managing team owner of Olympique Lyonnais, Lyon, until they sold their stake in that women's club in D1F to Michelle Kang in February. Kang is also the principal owner of the Washington Spirit. So OL's sale of Seattle Reign has seemingly been in the works for a while. I feel like there's been reporting back to like almost the middle of last year. And while I have not heard this directly from anybody at the club, I do have to wonder if that pending sale was at least causing the club to exercise a little bit of caution before signing other players. Now, obviously, they brought in Ji So-yeon, they brought in Angara James, but it always felt like they were kind of saving the powder a little bit. And now with this sale complete, I wonder if there are future transactions to take place.
Well, I think it's definitely something to be excited about. You can absolutely imagine that any big long-term-ish signings obviously change the financials of the team.
Sure.
So you don't really want to throw a monkey wrench in any kind of like potential deals. But I got to say, I'm pretty happy for you, man. I know you were worried about the Reign bringing in players. And it is a little stressful to kind of have a team in this kind of flux, especially from an ownership perspective, because obviously the ownership group makes such a big difference with regard to kind of setting the culture, setting what the objectives are and what the limitations are financially. Still super early, only 2 matches into the season. your reign sitting on 3 points at an even goal differential. And again, we've talked about this before. The playoffs don't kick off until November. It feels like like a lifetime away from now. And then another side note on this: top 8 teams make the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of change from last year, 2 extra playoff spots. So still lots of time to get things situated before the postseason. And again, congrats on the sale. Let's turn the page.
Let's turn the page indeed. We can talk about the other Washington. If you ask me, the greatly inferior Washington, not the club. I like the Spirit. I like their players. But in terms of Washingtons, I think on the power rankings, I prefer my Washington to Washington, D.C. for a lot of reasons, but we won't get into that.
Both of them behind Denzel.
There you go. Hard to live up to training day, I would say. But you know what? Second place isn't so bad. So, as reported by Meg Linehan of The Athletic, Leicy Santos nearing a deal to the Washington Spirit. And I'll say, despite being the inferior Washington in the United States, they got something cooking over there.
I do like what they're doing over there. Pretty exciting. Leicy Santos, 27 years old, one of the foundational pieces on Colombia's World Cup quarterfinals reaching team. She started 4 matches, came on as a sub in the 5th. She notched an assist and a super memorable goal that I'm sure is burned into your brain, chipping Mary F. Earps in the quarterfinals to give Colombia a 1-0 lead over your Lionesses that I'm sure maybe took a month and a half, 2 months off your life.
Big scary hours for your boy.
She plays her club ball at Atleti, 6 goals, 3 assists in 16 appearances this season. I think she's a great fit with Giraldes in Washington. He's had to game plan for Santos with Barcelona and Liga F, so I'm sure he'll have a vision for how to best utilize her talents. I just really like the signing.
I love it, man. I think you're spot on. I think she's going to fit his system once he gets over there after the Champions League, after Braun knocks them out of the Champions League. And I think her paired with Ashley Hatch and Trinity Rodman, I mean, come on, man. Like, we're really cooking with gas. We talked about it in the preview pod. You had posed the question of, like, what are the Spirit going for, or should we expect them? Are they challenging for some of those top spots in the league? They have answered that question resoundingly. I mentioned Michelle Kang in the Seattle Reign segment. She owns Lyon over in France. Now she owns the Spirit. Michelle Kang's not out here playing for fun. She is very clearly in both of the clubs that she owns. She's out here trying to win football matches, and she's picking up the elite players to do it.
Yeah, I love the identity that they're building too. It's a lot of like creativity, start and stop, quick and tight spaces. I think they're going to be a very, very fun team.
Hell yeah.
You know, I think we've talked about the long season. It's going to be really interesting to see what they look like come playoff time.
For sure. I mean, you think about Giraldes is going to come over here. We talked about Trinity Rodman, Ashley Hatch. They signed Casey Kruger to shore up the defense. But in their 2-1 victory over Bay FC, they got a goal from Hal Hirschfeld and Croy Bethune. Croy Bethune at the death to win the match. So they're their 2 young player draft picks right out of college stepping in. They're going to get a whole season to kind of get their stuff together, get ready, get some chemistry with the team. And I just want to say the post-match interview with Croy Bethune after she hits the winner, and she was threatening for most of that match. I got to tell you, buddy, if you haven't seen it, or I'm not going out on a limb here with how high Croy Bethune was drafted, but she was doing a little bit of that Betuelo thing where she was hitting strikes and she was like calibrating. And then she hit a great one to win the match 2-1. Then she goes and does the post-match interview, and just every gigantic green flag you could possibly wave. And she's just like, I love my vets. She shouted out Andy Sullivan. She shouted out Trinity Rodman. She was like, we always knew we were in the game. We were growing into the game. We just knew we had to get it right. Just everything about this young player looks spectacular, especially on the field. She mentioned real quick, she was like, I know I'm a little undersized, but I play bigger than that. The post-match interview equaled the performance on the pitch, and I was just like, okay, we're really, really doing something in the nation's capital.
Let's go. Yeah, shout out to our guy too, Chris from Soccer Dossier, who
called it.
Was all over Croy Bethune from the jump. Anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think that's it. I think we got everything. Everything in the world of football we got.
All right, man. I think we did it. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. If you missed it, this week we covered a bunch of NWSL action, including your Seattle Reign traveling to Chicago to take on the Red Stars, my Orlando Pride locking up with Angel City, San Diego against the KC Current. We also spent a little time in Liga F, breaking down Barcelona's dismantling again of Real Madrid. Kind of wondered what's going on with Liga F. Later this week, we're going to recap all 4 of this week's UEFA Women's Champions League quarterfinals, second leg matchups, including that Barcelona side that's got now all of a sudden a couple question marks surrounding it, taking on our beloved SK Braun and a bunch of other just bangers in the Champions League. Super pumped about that. So like if you liked, and remember, subscribe or follow into the channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen at ITC_pod on X. Big thanks to you for watching, listening, subscribing, or just plain hanging out with your boys. We really appreciate it. We are immensely happy and thrilled to have you hanging with us. Big thank you to my co-host for bringing it every single week. Champions League, international breaks, domestic cups, Las Gringas Cup, mergers and acquisitions, doesn't matter. He's our rock in the central midfield. Mr. Grand Angle, I appreciate you, man.
You're too kind, buddy. I appreciate you. And let me just say, Geraldez, he'll be a debutante when he comes to the NWSL. Croy Bethune, Hal Hirschfeld, Ji So Yun, also a debutante in the NWSL. We appreciate you guys rocking with us. A couple of debutantes in this space. I'm still considering this our first season. I don't know when the cutoff's going to be. We'll figure that out. Whenever that is, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us, and we'll talk to you soon.